Alright, YouTube, the Democratic Party has just said to hell with the little people. We're going to put Tom Perez in charge of the party. Fuck the progressives with Ellison. Fuck the sort of wedge issue Democrats with some of these other characters. We're going to go for fundraising because it worked so well during the 2016 election. The fact that Hillary Clinton outraised and outspent Trump like 5-1 throughout the entire stint of the campaign, it worked so well. Oh, we won. No, you didn't. That's the point. That's why this is a bad idea. Now, prior, several months ago, I think, I said, I expected Trump to win. And what happens after depends really upon what the Democratic Party does to react to him. If it gets its soul-searching done, gets its act together, reorganizes, launches a proper midterm campaign, maybe they survive through that, then they probably get decimated in the next election. The alternative is that something like this happens. They decide to go with another neoliberal, aka a corporate shill, who's there primarily to raise money, which no longer works, to suck the cock of the corporate media, the banksters, and so forth. They do maybe all right during the midterms at best. They probably lose handily. And then a schism happens within their party. And that's what I'm now predicting. I'm predicting that the Democrats will not do well during the midterms. In 2018, I expect them to at most break even. If they regain anything, it's not going to be nearly enough to regain the House, probably the Senate. They'll continue to lag behind on governor's seats. They may lose support, in fact. Then they'll probably boot Perez out after a single 2-year term there as the head of the DNC. Now, what will happen is that after that, the young Democrats, the Sanders and Warrenites, they will get even more alienated and they will press even harder. Ellison did come in a close second. They will press even harder to have progressive leadership in the Democratic Party. And or the other possibility is that the centrists, the sane Democrats, the dying breed of like Jim Webb's, will take control of the party. They will say, we are the intermediary here. We're capable of fundraising because we're sane, unlike the Bernie Sanders nutfucks over there, but we also have youth appeal because we're not solely focused on corporate cocksucking and wedge issues. And maybe they'll prevail. It's less likely. It's more likely that the progressives will take hold. I don't think they'd do well against Trump either. I've already stated this. I think Sanders would have lost against him. But he would have fared better. He might have won Michigan at the very least. He would have fared better than fucking Hillary Clinton. The Democratic Party has just shown what people have been saying. Not just people within the Democratic Party, but without. They don't fucking care about the little people. They care about absorbing as much corporate and bankster cash as possible. Everything else, to hell with it. As long as they keep existing as a party, as long as they continue to browbeat the third parties, you know, the Green Party that's actual liberals, the Libertarian Party that's actual classical liberals, as long as they pretend that there's a problem with them and maintain their hegemony as that sort of second place party, they can continue making lots of money. And that's what motivates them. That's why they put Perez in the position. Keith Ellison wouldn't have been as good at raising money because he's black and he happens to be a Muslim. An honest Democrat will admit that that's actually still a problem within the left. The so-called left. The Democratic Party has the same fucking problem that the Republicans do. They don't take people like that seriously. They want to be led by a white male. So then you have these fringe candidates. You have a Muslim. You have a female, and then you have a black female who really gets shafted. These are the people that speak for those wedge issues that you proclaim that you actually care about. The Democratic Party doesn't care about black rights. They simply want to use black people as a wedge issue for voting purposes and for fundraising purposes. They don't care about Hispanics. They don't care about Hispanic rights. They only want them as voters and to use them as a moral wedge issue. They don't care about small businesses. They don't care about the middle class. They don't care about the poor. And people are beginning to notice this fact. The nomination of Tom Perez to the highest rung of the DNC, basically just Debbie Wasserman Schultz with a dick, or Hillary Clinton with a dick, just proves this further. Because they haven't actually completed their soul searching, and because they've actually come to the moral conclusion that doing exactly what they were doing before and lost under is a good idea, that's why they'll lose again. And maybe then the level of social alienation among the Sanders fans will rise high enough for them to threaten to leave the party entirely and vote third party if they don't get their way. And the Democrats might actually listen to that. Instead of just saying, oh yeah, Keith Ellison should lead the party. Bernie Sanders comes up, yes, Keith Ellison's a great man. He's a Muslim, and therefore there's something great about him. I don't know exactly what, because I criticize religion constantly, but vote for Keith Ellison. He comes in a close second place. Okay, that's fine. But you've just alienated millions and millions of Bernie fans. You've alienated millions of Elizabeth Warren fans. You've alienated millions of centrists who are tired of the corporate sucking going on within the Tom Perez's and Obamas and Hillary Clintons of the party. The Democrats have just screwed themselves as far as the midterms go. That's my reading of the situation. Now, if you push me to make a prediction right now, what is most likely to happen? It's not certain, but the most likely outcome of the midterms is now that the Democrats, at the very best, break even, which is to say they continue not to control the House or Senate. That's the best possible scenario I can see. If they're lucky, they regain one House seat, maybe two. Ooh, what a red letter day that would be for them. The problem is this: the Republicans typically outperform during midterms. They typically perform better at midterms than Democrats do. They have a huge advantage in the midterms. You've seen this before. Obama wasn't vastly unpopular when the Tea Party utterly wiped out all the Democrats in the Senate and the House and took them over. It's not like he was horribly unpopular, like the average American thought he was actually a Muslim or anything. They just were better organized and their turnout was higher. We saw in this election that turnout among Republicans was higher than anticipated. That's why the corporate media couldn't save Hillary Clinton. They were using old turnout estimates that said, yeah, it's a general election, therefore Democrats will turn out more. They didn't, because neoliberals are boring. That's the point. That's why she lost. She would have kept at least two of the Rust Belt states and probably Florida if her turnout had been higher. The Democrats would have narrowly won the election. Instead, they lost by an electoral landslide. It doesn't matter what the popular vote is. Popular vote be damned. Trump can pull it off again. He goes into 2020 with the Democratic Party as fractured as it is right now. I don't care that they nominate Perez and say, oh yeah, at least the centrists are on board with our greater interest of maintaining party dominance. He goes into 2020 against a bunch of neoliberals. You know what he's going to do with them? He's going to wipe the floor with them. He's going to utterly annihilate them. Whoever his opponent is, he might not even bother to campaign. He'll say, oh, I'm Donald Trump. That'll be his campaign. Hey, I'm Trump. My opponent is a retard. That'll be his talking point, and he'd still win. He'd win the Rust Belt. All he has to do is bring a handful of jobs back to the Rust Belt, and he maintains it anyway. The Democrats need something else to go after. They need to go after the Southwest, probably in specific. How are you going to do that with somebody like Tom Perez leading your party? Who are you going to choose as a candidate? Are you going to take Hillary Clinton's corpse, slap it on stage, and run that? Are you going to have geriatric Bernie Sanders bumbling through his lines and drooling on himself like a half-demented vegetable running for your party? Who exactly do you plan to put up against Donald Trump? Would be my question. As your strategy, who exactly are you planning on? Which dark horse candidate do you think can unseat him? I don't think you have anybody. Your best shot at this point is some idiot like Cuban or something like that. That doesn't speak well for your party. Mark Cuban. Oh, what a wonderful, well-spoken individual he is. Meanwhile, in the next 4 years, well, actually, in just the next 2, you know what's going to happen? That corporate media that tried to prop up Hillary Clinton is going to lose more steam. 2 more years for it to lose power and for the internet to gain it. While Generation Z slowly approaches early adulthood, begins to speak out against what they don't like, and begins browbeating your party from the youth. As in browbeating the actual millennial voters that you once capitalized on in 2008. Those very young voters are no longer very young. We're approaching middle age at this point, in some cases. Some of them already are there. You're still locked in the 90s like Generation X is the young voters, and you can count on them to be at least kind of sort of liberal because they want to smoke weed or something like that. That's what the Democratic Party plans to do. You're suicidal as a political party. You're crazy. You think that that's going to work? I don't. I think at some point, if you keep up, if you make this mistake beyond the midterms, you can make the mistake in the midterms and you'll get hammered, but you'll still survive as a party. You make a mistake like that in 2020, you know what's going to happen? The Greens and the Libertarians will soon form a 3-party complex with the Republicans. The Democrats will be the 4th tier. You'll be the flat wheel in the back of the vehicle that gets removed real fucking quick. Because you'll be the dysfunctional party. You'll be the ones that don't understand anything. You don't know how it is to go after the youth. You don't know what real liberalism is. You're not speaking for workers' rights. You're not speaking for the majority or the minority, oddly enough. You're not standing for any anti-war sentiment. You're not even a wedge issue-based party anymore. You're just a laughingstock. That's what'll happen to the Democrats. Get a life. Grow a pair. Something like that. At least maintain some degree of relevancy. You put the centrists, you put the Jim Webbs in charge, you stand a fighting chance of at least being taken seriously. You still probably won't defeat Trump in 2020, but at the very least, next time around, you get a weaker Republican, somebody who's not Donald Trump, honestly. Maybe you'd stand a fighting chance, and people would actually respect you because your platform wouldn't be all sorts of fucked up. Putting Tom Perez in charge. Jesus Christ. These people are nuts. They just want to raise more cash. They just want to suck off the banks and corporations. It's all they want. They don't care if they lose. It's like they've given up. Watching the Democratic Party right now, you look at CNN, they're like, oh yeah, the Democratic Party's weak. Oh, they're ready to rise to the challenge, but they can't because they're too fucking weak to do anything. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. CNN is right for once. That's sad. You've got the corporate liberal media stumping against you because of your poor decision-making skills. It's how dumb people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz or Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or any of their ilk, like the Howard Deans of the party, really are. How dumb can you get? Tom Perez. Ask the average person under 30 if they know who Tom Perez is. I bet you 99% of them don't even know him. They just see another old, boring white dude. They probably, if you asked them, here's this dude here, what party do you think he's a member of? They'd probably say Republican. They'd probably think that he was just some old white evangelical dude. Way to really get the youth vote going. Yeah, I'm sure he's a total progressive, despite the fact that Bernie Sanders apparently hates his fucking guts because he supplanted Keith Ellison. Bernie Sanders wanted an Islamic theocratic party, essentially. Apparently, Islamic socialism or something like that. I can't say that that would help the Democrats. See, this was the problem. They were stuck between a cock and a hard place. They go Clintonian, they get fucked. They go progressive, they probably get fucked. They go centrist, they don't get fucked, but they've spent several decades alienating all the centrists. They all voted for Trump. Though the last few wise people within the Democratic Party aren't even liberals. They're a bunch of conservatives. They're paleocons. They're far to the right of Donald Trump. You get someone like Jim Webb or something like that. That's the voice of sanity within the Democratic movement. Years ago, I thought that because the Republican Party was mired in wedge issues, that they were going to be the ones that exited the stage of history. And I said that openly, and I was wrong. That's because Trump came along. And Trump took them away from the wedge issues, put it back on the economy and back on, yeah, we're Americans. We're going to make America great again. He didn't say we're going to make the Republican Party great again. He didn't say we're going to make the right wing great again. He didn't say we're going to make Christianity great again. He said we're going to make America great again. And that played up to the Rust Belt and reinvigorated the Republican movement. Beyond partisanship, you know, the conservative movement in general. Whatever form you think that should legitimately take. Democrats don't have somebody like that. They don't have a JFK. They don't even have a Jimmy Carter. They don't even have somebody that skilled. They've got a bunch of boring corporate suckers. People who don't know how to campaign. And they just put one in charge of the Democratic Party. Good luck. You're going to need it in the midterms. That's about all.